Hello, we have a great topic today. Are you ready to write a book? Start with these 3 tips. Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Rachel Edoho-Eket, and I'm really excited that you joined me today to talk about how to write a book. Now, if you're anything like me, you're very busy and you have a desire to do this. Maybe this is something you've always wanted to do, or maybe more recently you thought about writing a book, but you're not exactly sure where to start. Well, this video is going to be perfect for you because today I'm going to be sharing 3 tips with you to help you get started on your writing journey. So the first tip that I have for you today is to really figure out who is your target audience. This is your most important step because it is important that you are clear about who you are writing for. When I first wrote my book, The Principal's Journey, Navigating the Path to School Leadership, I knew that I wanted to speak to teachers and assistant principals or district leaders who wanted to get promotions to the next level of their leadership. Now, I didn't write it for all teachers. I didn't write it for all leaders. I wrote it for a specific niche group of people who wanted to know the process to becoming a school administrator. And so I want you to think about, as you are writing your book, who are you writing for? Sometimes what happens is, as authors, we try to write for everybody and we end up writing for nobody. So number one is making sure you know who your audience is and what should they know. After reading your book, what do you want people to walk away with? I knew when I wrote my first book, I wanted people to be able to walk away with tools to get a promotion. So in that book, I talked about the interview process. I talked about the leadership skills that were needed. I talked about getting a mentor. So you want to be thinking about your group of people and what would help them the most. And I also want you to remember your authentic voice. You know, there's a lot of AI that's happening right now, and sometimes people's voices have been lost in that. And it's important to remember that you have your own authentic voice. That's what's going to distinguish you from every other writer and every other book. So make sure that you're using your authentic voice as you are writing. No one can beat your personal stories or why they're important or why they should be shared with the whole world. So always remember that you have an important story to tell. The second step is to remember that writing is a process. And the best way to write a book is that you have to actually start writing. I know that sounds very simple, but that's the simplest way I can say it. You might have all the ideas in your head right now, and if they're not out on paper, they're not helping you get closer to your book. So I always recommend kind of doing a brain dump and just writing everything that you're thinking of. You might start writing your last chapter of your book. It really doesn't matter so long as you are writing. Later in the editing process, you can rearrange and put things in the order that you want them to be. But the main thing to do right now is to write or to type. Get your ideas out on your device. Get your ideas out on paper. Use a script or a talking to script. I used to use my phone. I would speak into Google and it would just write it for me. So that's another simple way that you can start your writing and make sure you're getting your ideas out of your head and onto paper. And my final tip is really making systems for sustainable writing. One of the things that really trips up writers is if we don't have sustained time to write. Now, in the beginning, I said you're very busy, just like I am. But one of the things I always committed to was writing for 10 minutes a day. If you commit to writing to 10 minutes a day, every single day, I guarantee that you will have a book that's ready for print. If, on the other hand, you say, oh, I'll write for 10 minutes today, I'll write for an hour tomorrow, I'll write in 2 weeks' time when I have a vacation, your book is going to take longer to come to fruition because you have to be consistent in your writing. Another tip that I have is to get a writing coach. Now, this is not someone you necessarily have to pay for, but it is an accountability piece. I had a writing coach that's one of my friends. The writing coach might be a family member that says, hey, Rachel, did you write for 10 minutes today? So they're just there to keep you on track. So I want to review the 3 tips with you. The first tip was figuring out who your audience is and gaining clarity on who you are writing for. That's going to let you know what you should include in your book and what is not necessary to include. The second step is to remember that Writing is a process, and the writing process is different from the editing process. So don't get caught up on having the perfect sentence or the perfect punctuation right away. Really focus on getting your ideas out on paper. And the last tip is to have a structure and a system for how often you're going to write. I suggest 10 minutes a day, every single day. And then when you have more time, perhaps on the weekends, on vacations, or long breaks, you extend your time and write more. But you really need to gain that sustainable writing and that consistent writing and that stamina for writing. If you found these tips helpful, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with any future writings. I am so excited to see some of your writing that's going to come out of this. I hope that you found these 3 tips helpful to get you started, and I'm looking forward to reading your book one day. Bye.